I've been trolling TikTok a lot lately. Probably a little too much.
Look at this. Is this heaven?
God is real. Type Jesus is king in the comments.
I love Christian TikTok. It is the strangest shit on the planet. Endless entertainment. So I figured we'd take a look at the greatest hits. Let's get into it. First, let's take a look at the low-hanging fruit, and then we're going to take a look at legit arguments from TikTok pastors. What is that picture from the last clip?
Look at this. Is this heaven?
God is real. Type Jesus is king in the comments.
It came from a science Twitter account. It was posted with a message. During the freezing period of Lake Semi-Literate, after the clear lake bottom froze, it shone like a sapphire under the sunlight. Surprising. I actually thought it was CGI at first. But I can tell you one thing for sure. It's not heaven. But that's not this guy's only contribution to TikTok. He's a major Christian TikToker. Check this one out.
Bianca
Many of you guys know
exposed.
who this is. This is Beyonce. If you ever listen to her music or you just know who she is, and especially if you follow God, and you want to expose darkness or just want to know the truth, watch this entire video. I'm about to break it down to you.
I want to know the truth. He's describing me. Lay it on me, brother. Give me a big truth dose. As the Scientologists say, I'll try not to freewheel from the pure truth being injected straight into my brain.
So this is her doing video choreography for I don't know what, and I'm about to play the video. Tell me what you see, but I'm going to point it out to you. I want you to pay attention to her face. Boom. There's a screenshot close up and even clearer right there. The evil and the demonic in Hollywood and the music industry is real and you gotta pay attention. But guess what? Jesus is still king no matter what, and we're called here to expose the darkness.
This is as bad as the people who said Joe Biden's eye turned into a lizard eye a while back. Robin Bullock. It's embarrassing, really. Please don't do this kind of thing. It's hard to watch. But let's move on from the wingnuts. There are actual preachers out there using TikTok for cute little sound bites. There's a TikTok account called Warriors of Christ. Check this out.
This is iron right here. But the thing about this iron is it has become dull. This should be able to slice me wide open. But the only reason that it's not slicing me open is because it's been hitting against wood. So if iron sharpens iron, what doesn't sharpen iron? Wood. If iron and wood are constantly in relationship, this can never be sharpened because it's not made from the same material. This is what the scripture says when it tells us not to be unequally yoked.
This is a type of propaganda technique called faulty analogy propaganda. Propaganda and logical fallacies go hand in hand sometimes. Its cousin fallacy is called argument from analogy. Here's what Texas State University has to say about the faulty analogy propaganda technique. Quote, this fallacy consists in assuming that because two things are alike in one or more respects, they are necessarily alike in some other respect, end quote. In this case, relationships barely have any comparison at all with an axe. In fact, relationships aren't like axes in the way he's describing. He's just telling us they are, and it sticks. That's what makes it propaganda, twisting the facts to make people believe it. Let's listen to the rest of the clip.
If I'm in a relationship with somebody that is not equally yoked, what happens is one will become damaged and the other will become dull. Many of us are in relationships that are unequally yoked and it's hurting both of you because you started off sharp, but you started having relationship with wood. People that don't have the same values, people that don't believe God. Oh, we can just do it this one time. We can go to the club tonight. It's your birthday. And what happens is the thing that was sharp becomes dull and the thing that was wood becomes damaged.
Let me frame it another way for you. Axes are specifically designed to cut wood. That's the whole point. So maybe in this analogy, God wants us to be with people who have different values, and then come back to him to get sharpened, so we can mold our partners into who we want them to be. It makes a lot more sense than the analogy he's giving right now. But just like his analogy, it's a terrible way of looking at things. You should not try to change somebody. That's called the fallacy of change. It's a cognitive distortion. You can only change you, not others. Anyways, let's take a look at the next clip. It's from the same pastor as before.
For you to pray, you're gonna have to humble yourself. When you come to God, he doesn't care about your crown. You see, when you come to God, you gotta put your crown down. And listen, this is the thing you gotta know. You have to do it every day. Like every day you wake up. Oh, I don't feel like praying, but I'm gonna humble myself. All right, God, I'm gonna give you these first 3 minutes instead of Instagram these first 2 minutes.
This is classic fake it till you make it. This is actually how you brainwash somebody. Years ago, there was a study where they had people do absolutely miserable tasks, like cleaning up after a dog with their bare hands. And afterward, they had people rate how much they hated the task on a scale of 1 to 10. They had a control group, just a set of people doing the task as usual, and another group who held pencils in their mouths while they did it. The people who had a pencil in their mouths hated the task less than the control group. Why? Because they were physically mimicking the act of smiling. Their mouths were open and they were using the same muscles to hold the pencil that they'd use to smile. This is actually exactly how you brainwash somebody. Or yourself. Pretend you like doing something until you actually like doing it. It's also why they use reframing propaganda, like the TikToker David Ladding did, by saying that you don't have to worship Jesus, you get to worship Jesus.
It's not a have to, it's a get to. Worshiping Jesus, it's not a have to sing the next song, it's a you get to. Suffering for Jesus, it's not a have to suffer for Jesus, it's a get to suffer.
Change how you view things and your attitude will change. What you do on the outside is reflected inward and vice versa. Not to mention the fact that he's starting the shame cycle for social media use. He's trying to make people think about praying or studying the Bible the moment they open Instagram, linking the two ideas in their heads. Before we continue, I want to mention something. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, you can support me in a few ways. First, there's Patreon. That's probably the best way. But if you want to get something back for your support, you can check out my Teespring, or you can check out my Etsy shop. I sell all kinds of cool stuff on there, including these signs. If you want to keep Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons from knocking on your door, put one of these out front. They're not afraid of much, except apostates. They'll hesitate before knocking when they realize you're an apostate. I sell a bunch of other stuff on there too, including game and controller stands for every system, from the original Nintendo to the PlayStation 4, so give it a look. You might find something you like. Okay, let's keep watching.
All right, God, I'm gonna give you these first 3 minutes instead of Instagram these first 3 minutes. Because some of us wake up and y'all know the first thing we do. Do I have any more followers? And God says, but I thought you were my follower. I thought you were my follower. And I thought you were checking what was on my feed today. Because I have a plan for you, a plan to prosper you, a plan to give you a hope and a future, something that was planned before you were even in your mother's womb. And so I'm going to humble myself, and then I'm going to do what? Pray.
The humbling yourself bit is reframing propaganda too. And once again, this pastor is using a piss-poor argument from analogy fallacy, faulty analogy propaganda. That's basically all you find on Christian TikTok. You only have 1 to 3 minutes to make your point, so it's all sound bites and propaganda techniques to rope you in as quickly as possible. Check out the next clip.
So I actually think the scariest verse in the entire Bible for me is Matthew 7:21. And Jesus is talking to a crowd of people saying, many who say, Lord, Lord, will not get into heaven. And he looks at them and says, many of you on that day will say, Lord, Lord, I did this, I did this, I did that. And he will look at you and say, away from me, you evildoer. I never knew you. That sucks.
Classic fear tactics, trying to scare people into obedience. Do whatever it takes to turn people into fanatics. Like I've said before, the Bible is impossible to not cherry pick. It's a collection of 66 books and letters written by dozens of writers across thousands of years. We don't even know who the writers were in some cases. They certainly didn't all know each other, and they all espouse contradictory views and ideas of what they thought the church should be. Is faith without works dead? James chapter 2. Or do you get into heaven not by works but by faith alone? Ephesians chapter 2. Has no man seen God and lived? John 1:18. Or have people seen and conversed with him? Genesis 32:30. There are a billion contradictions in the Bible from beginning to end. It isn't one cohesive set of writings. It's a mess. This person just decided to go with the interpretation that turns people into fanatics by using scare tactics. The next one is from Warriors of Christ again. It's a band singing, so I'm muting it and I'm just gonna read the subtitles. Check this out. I've seen cancer disappear. I've seen metal plates dissolve. Don't tell me he can't do it. Don't tell me he can't do it. That's a tall claim. So God is literally powerful enough to cure cancer and melt metal plates? What purpose would that serve anyways? Did he just need a rhyme? And either way, doesn't that kind of contradict what these pastors say about the problem of impotence versus evil? They say God can cure cancer and help the poor and all that stuff, so why doesn't he just come out and do it? I don't understand. If we take this guy at his word, that means there shouldn't be a single Christian in the entire world that has cancer, right? This isn't borne out in the data. data at all. Let's keep watching, because I've seen real life resurrection, I've seen mental health restored. Don't tell me he can't do it, don't tell me he can't do it. Because I've seen families reunited, I've seen prodigals return. Don't tell me he can't do it, don't tell me he can't do it. Because I've seen troubled souls delivered, I've seen addicts finally free. I've seen all this shit used against people for decades. When I was in school for substance abuse counseling, we talked about AA and how they use God against people. God and drugs affect similar parts of the brain. The goal of AA and NA is to replace the drugs with Jesus. It isn't a psychology program, it's a religious program. It even started in the basement of a church. They also use the idea of permanent imperfection. You can never get better. You're perpetually in recovery. I completely disagree from the perspective of somebody who received a degree in substance abuse counseling. I'm not a recovering addict. I am a recovered addict. It has parallels with sin. My mom used to tell me that sin was like putting a dent in a bread pan. Now every loaf of bread baked in that pan is going to have the indentation. Another use of the faulty analogy propaganda technique. Check out the steps from the 12-step program. Step 2, we've come to believe that a power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity. Step 3, we've made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God. Step 5, admitted to God, ourselves, and another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Step 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Step 7, humbly ask God to remove our shortcomings. Step 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. Step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. 7 of the 12 steps mention God. These are all religious ideas. The 12-step program isn't based on science or psychology, it's based on religion. Nothing more. Religion tries to infiltrate everything in life, and I wouldn't necessarily have a problem with that, but when people try to claim it's the ideal solution, or even the only solution to some problems, it pisses me off. That's when it crosses a line from benign to malignant, and it needs to be addressed. Anyways, that's all I've got for you. Thanks for watching, guys.